Hey guys, how's it going? Brian from Brian Boas here. Having a boa breeding operation is certainly not a low maintenance activity, and there's certain routine chores that you really have to keep on top of every week. Today I want to go through my weekly boa maintenance regimen, and I'm going to give you guys some tips and tricks that you can use to hopefully take a little bit of the drudgery out of these routine boa chores. If you find this video helpful, I'd really appreciate it if you would subscribe to the Brian Boas YouTube channel so you don't miss out on any future boa videos. As boa breeders, we all like to daydream about all the beautiful boa litters that lie ahead. And we like to look at the beautiful pictures of everyone else's litter and all these beautiful babies in their amniotic sacs just born. But the truth is that these moments really are less than 5% of the time you're going to spend breeding boas. The vast majority of the time is just the routine maintenance, the cleaning and the feeding and the maintaining snakes. And this is really how you're successful as a boa breeder. It's just an awful lot of hard work and commitment over a long period of time. When you're doing your routine boa maintenance, I really recommend that you come up with a schedule that you can follow week after week. And unless you have a very small collection with just a few animals, you probably want to break up the maintenance over several days. So for me, I do my cleaning and maintenance from Thursday to Sunday, and typically I spend about 2 hours or so on each of these days taking care of and cleaning up the snake cages, typically about maybe 20-25 animals a day. And I split them by rack, so I'll do a few racks a day and I'll do all of the cleaning in that particular rack, and then typically I'll do a feeding the following day if it's scheduled. So as you know, I do my routine maintenance every week, and my boas will get fed either every other week, every 3 weeks, or every 4 weeks. So most of the time they're not going to eat the following day, but if they're due for feeding, I will typically feed the whole rack the following day. So like this, for example, this Bocalpa Peruvian female is currently on every 3 weeks she gets a rat, and she's probably going to go to every 4 weeks, probably starting next year. Actually my breeder next year, so after that she's probably going to be on an every 4-week schedule. But you want to break it up so you don't have to do everything in one day, because that would just be way too much and you'd really burn out. But find a system that works for you and kind of stick with it. Make it a habit that you do every week. I'm going to clean this rack that I built. This holds the Vision boa tubs, and it's currently containing subadult 2 red-tailed boas. And so I'm going to go ahead and do a whole change of the aspen today rather than a spot clean, since it's been about a month and a half or so since I put in new aspen. I'm going to put this mask on, not because of the current global epidemic disease that's going on, but rather because the aspen can have some dust sometimes, so I don't want to be breathing that in. And so I'm just going to slide the tub out, and I remove the cage furniture. Here's the water dish. So I'm going to dump the water into a bucket, and I'll clean the water dish. And then I'm carefully going to remove the inhabitant, the Suriname red tail. I'm just going to put him in this bin. Okay, so I'm going to slide the tub out, and then I'm going to put all of the old aspen in another tub. Get that all in there. And then I use this ice scraper. So you know I live in California, I don't have much need for ice scrapers, but having grown up in New England, I have quite a large supply of them, and they work great for scraping urine and feces off of the bottom of the boa tubs. Let's get that scraped nice and good. And then you don't want to be breathing this dust. It's really bad for your lungs. Kind of tap out the dust like that. Then I'm going to spray it down with chlorhexidine. This is about a 50-fold dilution of the concentrated stock solution. And there's actually a link down below if you want to buy some chlorhexidine. But it's a great general disinfectant. Going to wipe it down with paper towels. Now I'm going to add some fresh aspen, and I put about 2 inches or so on the bottom. Okay, that should be good. And then with the fresh aspen, it's important to spray it down with water. So this adds humidity, and it also cuts down on the dust. Dust is definitely an issue with aspen, and I'm really considering getting rid of the aspen altogether and just going to a coconut husk substrate. So I'm going to give it about 50 sprays, roughly. Just get it good and moist, just so there'll be some nice humidity for the snake. Okay. Now I'm going to slide the tub back in. I'm going to replace the cage furniture, the hiding places. And now we'll put this beautiful boa back in his tub. Nice and clean. I went ahead and changed the aspen in each tub in this rack. And then I took the food dishes or water dishes upstairs and cleaned them with a light dish soap. Unfortunately, I don't have a sink in my serpentarium, so I have to go upstairs. And I actually have to bring water down in these plastic pitchers for the snakes. It would be real nice to have a sink, so if you're ever building your own snake room from scratch, I highly recommend putting a sink in. But I'm going to go ahead and fill the water dish about halfway up. Then I'm going to go ahead and put that in place here. I'm also going to make a quick temperature check with my infrared gun thermometer. And it's reading, see, 88 degrees, so that's good. If the temperature is a little low or a little high, sometimes I'll adjust the thermostat. It tends to vary a little bit throughout the year, and sometimes you have to just bump it up or down a degree or two to compensate for, local environmental changes. So now I have all of this soiled boa substrate. What do I do with it? Well, rather than throw it in the trash and tie up some of the limited space in my garbage can that my family has to collect waste each week from the city, it makes great compost. And as an avid gardener, I recycle it in my garden. So I have these raised beds in my yard. They're 4 by 8 feet, which I built myself. And I have 6 of them, but typically I use 3 every year for the vegetables. And the other 3 I use as compost bins. And real simple, I just basically dump my substrate in the bin here. Then we're gonna dig it up a bit, mix it up like this. And that's all there is to it. By next year, the gardening season for next year, this will be nice, rich compost, and my plants will really benefit from growing in it. So I thought I'd show you some of my vegetables this year, and these are growing in a raised bed. That's a 4 by 8 foot raised bed, growing on last year's used Boa substrate. And you can see I've got some nice healthy tomato plants. Hopefully these should be ripening up pretty soon. And in the back we got some nice big sunflowers and some squash plants that just kind of grew wild. But the Boa substrate again makes great compost, and I recommend if you have a yard, you just compost it yourself in your yard. So I hope this outdoor segment worked out okay. I was a little hesitant because I have an alcoholic neighbor who's always screaming at his wife about God knows what, but luckily he wasn't out today. Today I'm also going to service this grow-out rack that I built, which holds the 28-quart Sterilite tubs. And I have coconut husk as a substrate here, and I changed it about 2 weeks ago, so I don't need to change it today, but rather I'm going to do a spot cleaning, remove any waste or sheds, things like that, and then I'm also going to check in on all my boas. So I have some Hog Island boas here. These are last year's babies, and I'm going to just check the temperature with this temperature gun. It's reading 88.2, so that looks good. And now I'm going to take the water. I'm using these deli cups, so I'm just going to pour that in the bucket, and then I'm going to take these upstairs and wash them. And they're good for maybe about 2 months or so, and then I generally will replace them with new ones. So just looking in the enclosure, I don't see any waste material. There's a little bit of urate I'm going to put in that bucket. So she looks okay. So now I'm just going to spray down the coconut husk to increase the humidity. Okay. Let's do a quick inspection of the snake. She's growing quite nicely. This is a year-old Hog Island boa. Okay, and then I'll move to the next tub, which actually has one of her sisters. So we'll take out the deli cup, put that aside. Okay. I don't see, oh, here's some feces. I'm just generally going to kind of clump it up like this. And then let's check on this. She's looking good, growing nicely. Give her a spray down. Ooh, she's a little feisty today. Okay, 88 degrees, that looks good. Put her back before she draws blood. And so I guess you get the picture. I'm going to go through this whole rack and service each tub individually. Sometimes I like to spend a little more time with the snakes, you know, enjoy them if I have the time. And then I'm going to go wash these dishes. So I went ahead and washed these deli cups upstairs. So now I'm just going to replace the water for these snakes. So typically I do the whole rack, but for this video I'm just showing you these two. There's one. And there's the other. So these animals should be all set for the next week or so for the next maintenance. So that's how I go through my racks one by one and just change the substrate or do a spot cleaning, and also change the water and do the routine chores. I didn't show you any racks with a paper substrate like newspaper or corrugated cardboard, but those substrates generally I need to change every week because they just don't last. And so I'll take out the paper, spray it down, wipe it down, put in fresh paper. So as you can see, having a boa breeding operation is definitely a commitment, and there's constant maintenance, 52 weeks a year. And even on the days when I'm not doing my routine maintenance, I always go through and take a quick check of the snakes, and I'll in particular check on any snake that might have something going on that might require some assistance or maintenance. So really consider this strongly before you start your own snake breeding operation, because you're going to have to adjust your lifestyle accordingly. You're not going to be able to take nearly as many vacations as you used to. And unless you have a partner or a significant other or someone you really trust to maintain your snakes, you're pretty much going to be doing this all of the time. So as usual, I thought I'd take out a beautiful boa to share with you to wrap up this video. And this is a 2016 male Boa Constrictor amarali, the Bolivian short-tailed boa. And this is of the Orange Crush bloodline from Joe Terry. This guy was bred by Kenneth Proctor back in 2016. And he's approaching sexual maturity. I don't think I'm going to breed my amarali next year, but possibly the following year. Just a real gorgeous animal. Beautiful orange lilac colors. And what's really cool about these amarali boas is they have the greatest temperament. They really give truth to the term puppy dog tame. I mean, this guy is he just loves to hang out. When I open his cage, he looks up at me almost like he recognizes me. They're about as close to a dog that you can get in a boa. And, you know, he doesn't rap. He holds on gently but firmly. Great musculature. Just a gorgeous animal. These amaralis are really one of my favorite locality boas. I actually just have the Orange Crush pair. I'd love to add some silverback amarali to my collection as well. Beautiful animals. So I hope this video was helpful. As always, if you have any questions or comments, feel free to write them below or reach out to me. Thanks for tuning in, and enjoy your boas.